Philippe Lazzarini, welcome to the program. Can I start by asking you some news that has come in? Suggestions that Israeli military action may have affected an UNRWA school in the Jabalia camp. Do you know anything about that? What can you tell us?
Listen, Christiane, indeed, I'm receiving extraordinary difficult news about the schools in Jabalia, but not only in Jabalia, but also in beach camp. In fact, over the last few hours, I received reports that 3 of our schools, sheltering about 20,000 people, have been hit. This reportedly has led to the death of more than 20 people in Jabalia and also 1 person at the beach camp.
Sorry, is that 20 sheltering civilians? Is that 20 of your officials?
No, these are official UNRWA schools where we shelter a number of displaced persons in the north of Gaza. These are shelters which are clearly notified, localization are extremely well known, and we had thousands of people at the time these shelters have been hit. And the first report coming out of Jabalia are indicating that more than 20 people have been killed.
Philippe Lazzarini, you have just said that you have notified the Israelis and they know very well these locations. Can you explain to me why you believe, because it's a really, I'm afraid, contested topic right now, why do you think these civilian areas are being hit?
So listen, the fighting is taking place in overcrowded areas, in urban areas. We know also that fighting is taking place in Gaza City right now, but we estimate that there are still around 300,000 to 400,000 civilians in these areas. Take the example of a Jabalia camp. It was one of the most crowded camps in the Gaza Strip, but we still believe that there are around 40,000 people remaining there. So yes, public infrastructure, including the UNRWA school, unfortunately have been also hit during this fighting, and people sheltering there basically are not more safe than anywhere else.
How do you categorize this then? Is it accidental? Is it a war crime? Is it deliberately not distinguishing between civilians and Hamas fighters?
Listen, according to international humanitarian law, there is a criteria of proportionality and also of distinction. When I was briefing this week the Security Council, I said the number of people being killed so far is so staggering that this cannot be collateral anymore.
Could I ask you, because we're talking to you and we have this opportunity, you have been inside Gaza for the first time since October 7th. You've called it, I believe, the most sad, sad day in all your humanitarian work. Talk to me about that.
So listen, I have been first to Gaza 30 years ago. Gaza, it's a society I know very well. It was a vibrant society. It was extraordinarily sad because I visited a school, overcrowded school, sheltering thousands of displaced people. And basically, the only ask the people had at that time was, please give me water, please give me a loaf of bread. And later on, I was talking to my staff in Gaza, and they were confirming that today the Gaza Strip is running out of everything, running out of fuel, running out of water, running out of food, running out of medicine, and the market is completely depleted. And it's extremely sad to see how much now this population is completely dependent on an international humanitarian community, which is not in a position anymore to deliver at scope what they need. What I see right now is an entire population being moved to the south, and which basically has absolutely nothing available. They left, most of them, many of them left the north with very little things, and they arrive in the south, which is completely overcrowded, twice its population now, no market, no goods available anymore at the market, public services collapsing, and they all depend on us right now.
So do you understand and do you accept what we saw were instances of looting, and the international authorities said that the social fabric is starting to break down in Gaza?
The social fabric is indeed breaking down. The civil order is breaking down. And I understand you have hundreds of people queuing in front of bakeries nowadays, just with the hope to get a loaf of bread. And we are now put in a situation where it is becoming almost impossible to offload bread from the bakery that we are supporting to bring back to our shelter, just because you have 100 of other people expressing their hunger in front of this bakery. And I understand also that this hunger is turning into anger and vis-a-vis the international community, and the UNRWA is the face of the international community in the Gaza Strip.
Even despite what we understand is an expanding humanitarian trickle, I guess I'm calling it a trickle, you tell me what it is, what's coming through Rafah?
Listen, Christiane, we need much more. Before October 7, there was an average of 500 trucks in the Gaza Strip, and this was already described as being a blockade. And year after year after year, the population of Gaza started to become more and more dependent of the international humanitarian community. We were, for example, providing 50% of the caloric need of 1.2 million people before that. Today, after an almost total siege, we are talking about a handful of trucks coming into the Gaza Strip. At the time, the market is also completely depleted. At the time, the last remaining public services have completely collapsed. So yes, this handful of trucks basically don't do anything to reverse the fact that the Gaza Strip is being strangled by the siege.
Philippe, can I ask you this? There is a lot of controversy over fuel, for instance, and reports citing all sorts of experts, Israeli, Western and others, in fact, even Middle Eastern, that over the years, Hamas has stored and hoarded all that it needs in its underground tunnels, whether it's food, medicine, fuel, for its war effort, and that it could, have enough to fight for 3 to 4 months. Gaza is a very different place than when you went 30 years ago. I mean, what can you tell us about the Hamas authorities vis-a-vis taking care of civilian needs?
So listen, what I can tell you is that no one right now is taking care of the civilian need. But when it comes to the fuel, I have no idea what has been the military building up of the Hamas in the Gaza Strip. But I can tell you that we as UNRWA, our reserve of fuel have completely depleted, and we were looking at what other fuel is available in the Gaza Strip. There were commercial fuel which were available, and there were also fuel which were brought in by the international community to supply the electric plant. Now, over the last week, we have, through deconfliction with the Israeli, picked up the remaining fuel, the remaining commercial fuel, which was available in the Gaza Strip, which means in the coming days, we won't be able anymore to supply bakeries, supply hospitals, supply the water station. But in the coming days, we might even be unable to move our trucks within the Gaza Strip to provide humanitarian assistance to 700,000 people, for example, sheltering in our premises, but also to the rest of the population.
I have to say, it stuck with me what you said at the beginning, that all these children were just asking you for a sip of water and a piece of bread. It's heartbreaking to hear that. And also you yourself, as UNRWA, have lost your, dozens of workers. Tell me what's the situation with your own employees on the ground?
So listen, Christiane, we have lost, as of now, 72 staff. The last staff I just heard was a disabled staff member, May. She was doing coding. We, 1 year ago, published a video about what she was doing, very proud also to support her family. And she is the last person reported killed among 72 people. Now, I met the staff yesterday in Gaza. Basically, they are sharing the same living condition than anyone else. They are living in shelter. They are struggling on a daily basis to find bread, to find water, to protect their children. And despite that, and despite the heavy loss within this organization, they remain committed to do whatever is possible to provide support to the people in Gaza. But it's a constant daily struggle, but I have to say that I take a lot of inspiration in their strength and dedication.
Would you ever consider withdrawing UNRWA staff, just like, you know, some wounded Palestinians are being evacuated, dual nationals are being allowed to leave?
Listen, we are in the mode of rotation. We are in the mode of scaling up our operation. I have been very clear. We need to scale up this operation. We should not continue to talk about 50, 60, 70 trucks. This operation needs to be brought up at scale if we want to resolve the ongoing, I would say, civil breakdown, but if we want to make sure that people do not start to die because of the impact of the siege, because of our difficulties to bring our assistance at scale in the Gaza Strip.
Philippe, I want to ask you a touchy question. You know, everything is disputed. Numbers are disputed, death tolls, you know, who's a civilian, who's a fighter. So the Palestinian authorities, I guess Hamas-run authorities in Gaza and the, you know, officials in Ramallah say now that over 9,000 Palestinians have been killed since the air war began after October 7th. Now, I spoke to former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert this week. He said these numbers are exaggerated. And I quoted you, basically, saying that in the past 6 cycles of conflict, Hamas figures had been considered credible by all sides. Take a listen to what he said.
The UN numbers are as credible as Hamas numbers. And we leave it aside for a second, okay? I don't trust the UN numbers. The UN numbers are not very reliable.
What do you say to that?
Well, listen, I can tell you that the 72 staff members of UNRWA are reliable. They have been confirmed. These are our figures. And if I compare the 72 with our 13,000 staff in the Gaza Strip, with the 9,000 being published by the Ministry of Health, and the 2.2 million inhabitants in the Gaza Strip, we have more or less the same percentage of people being killed.
That's a very clear response. Philippe Lazzarini, thank you so much indeed.
Christiane, thank you. Thank you to you.